Hey friends, hello. Happy Thursday. Welcome to Craft Your Joy Live. Super excited to be back. It's been 2 weeks since we did our last live together and a ton of stuff has happened. So it's been a big week for the launch of my new stamp set with Gina K Designs called Beauty in Everything. So if you missed the launch party that we had on Tuesday, I do have a full video on my on this channel with a complete walkthrough of the stamp set. But we're going to be using that stamp set today. I see people popping in. I'm just going to kind of scroll back and say hi to everybody. Hi Dawn. Hi Barbara. Hi Heidi. Smoke Haze, New Hampshire. So I guess some of the wildfire stuff is still happening in Canada and coming down. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Catherine. Hello, Sue. Here's Cherie. Super fun. Super fun to see everybody today. Okay, we're gonna dive into it. We're just gonna get right into it. We're easing into it a little bit because I have not done a live in 2 weeks because of everything that's going on and all of the launch stuff that happened this week. But we're going to ease into it today with a little bit of some watercoloring. We're going to make some farmers market flowers. And we're going to use some inks and watercolor pencils. And I'm going to get a little nerdy, and we're going to do a little nerdy chatter and a couple techniques with watercolor pencils and kind of see how it goes. I haven't pre-planned this card at all today, or this project, or even what I'm going to say. So, it's live. We're going to see what happens, right? It's going to be fun. Okay, so Cheryl's just popped in, Elizabeth's popped in, and yeah, Heidi's just a lot of smoke coming down from the wildfires. So I hope everybody's safe out there. All right. Catherine, you look lovely. That shirt really brings out your eyes. Thank you. Thank you so much. I actually feel kind of summery today. So super fun. Let's go ahead and dive into the down camera and let's kind of get started. I'm going to go do a brief walkthrough of the supplies for today, but the supplies are listed down below in the description. Kept everything really simple today just because we're all kind of easing back in and it is summer, right? It's summer, so let's have some fun. So let's go ahead down to the down camera. Glasses off so we can actually see what's happening. Okay, so I have a piece. I am using watercolor paper today, and if you've been following the channel for a while, and many of you have, this is my favorite watercolor paper to use with for paper crafting projects. So Strathmore Ready Cut Watercolor, 100% cotton. That's what I'm using today. I've got a couple pieces here that I'm going to be using them on. I've got a piece cut out with the master layouts, the scallop die. I've got a piece of ink, innocent pink cardstock cut to an A2 size. And here's the inspiration for the card that we're going to make today. Now, if you missed the release on Monday, I want to just kind of give everybody a quick reminder. Here was the release. This is this new stamp set, Beauty in Everything, and it does have a coordinating die. And this stamp set was inspired by farmers market flowers. So this is like that little piece of craft paper that gets folded over your flowers when they give them to you or when you buy them from the flower shop. So kind of super fun. And here in Maryland, you know what? I'm going to pop my, let's see if I can find my little face. Find my little face. Okay, so there I am. I'm right there. Anyway, here in Maryland at my local farmers market, this is what inspired the stamp set. Tierra Blooms they're in Tawnytown here in Maryland. They are one of my favorite flower farmers in the area. And every time I get flowers from them, it's wrapped in this craft paper and it has this big sticker on it that says Tierra Blooms. So literally they were the total inspiration for this stamp set. And I'm just kind of giddy about it. Okay, so enough with the giddy. Let's get back to it. Okay, so if you missed the release, I just want to remind you that there is a free download for beauty and everything. And this set also coordinates with Showers of Blessings, which was the set from last month. So I do have a couple examples of projects where those showing a crossover, a mashup between those two sets. So I kind of just wanted to reiterate and share that. Those are the stamps that we're using today. Here are the inks. I've got Wild Dandelion, Grass Green, Innocent Pink, and Passionate Pink. And I also have Obsidian for the sentiment. I have pre-stamped and pre-cut a few things because we are going to focus on some of our watercolor techniques using some watercolor pencils and some of the inks and a little bit of water. So I'm using the Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils. This one's cadmium yellow, I think. Yep, cadmium yellow. And this one is like a pink madder lake. So I'm going to show you that color. Also, our card project today is more focused. I tend to be focused a lot more lately in our lives on our watercolor techniques and kind of getting nerdy about that kind of chatter versus our card making techniques. Well, I guess watercolor is kind of a card making technique. So here are the two colors that I'm using today. I'm just going to get a little water on my brush and just kind of dissolve that a little bit so that you can see. This pink right here is a nice mix between that passionate pink that you see here and innocent pink. And I love that Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils because they really dissolve nicely. Look at that, how bright that is, that cadmium yellow. Oh, just love that. And I'm just kind of letting them mix a little bit. So just nerded out a little bit about those two colors. But this is kind of the color inspiration for today. And we're going to do a mix of ink using our inks for watercolor and also using, I want to try a little something different. So that's what we're going to do. I also have like some sequins here, and we'll get to that, some glue, all the things that you need to kind of whip up our cards. And I wanted to share this with you, this beast. When I was pulling out my watercolor pencils, I wanted to share with you just a little solution that I have found that works really well for my watercolor pencils and my colored pencils. So I use the Albrecht Dürer watercolor pencils and the color pencils, and they're from Faber-Castell. So what I've done is, so I have the polychromos and I have the Albrecht Dürers. So what I've done is taken the colors that go with each other. So like here's Rose Carmine in the watercolor pencil, and then here it is in the color pencil, and used this this pencil case and just nested them together, so I always have both of them together if I want to use them. Because you can use your colored pencils and your watercolor pencils together in conjunction with each other. So I used to have these all kind of separated and I could never find things, and I decided to kind of pull them together into some sort of organization to put them together, like straight up together. So if I wanted that purple violet in the watercolor pencil, here it is. And if I want it in the color pencil, here it is. So little quick organization tip, you know, for what it's worth, right? For what it's worth. So let's go ahead and get started on some of our stamping. Some things are pre-stamped. Some things are not today. But what we're going to do is I'm going to start off with my innocent, start off with my innocent pink. Make sure I got a block, for Pete's sake, right? I've got some blocks here. And I'm going to take my my craft wrapper, my little craft wrap. And we're going to just stamp this right down on here. And we're going to build up our layers of images on top. And that's what we're going to do. Just kind of mimicking this look and feel, easing back into things. I'm just going to go ahead and ink this up pretty gently. Kind of eyeball what I'm going to do here. Just eyeball it down in that lower, oops, I rocked that a little bit. Down in that lower end. I've kind of got that coming down to the bottom here. Now I'm going to just get my brush wet. Now we've done this technique before. I'm going to activate the water, just activate what we have here in this innocent pink, and just see if I can get this to move. See everybody kind of popping in the chat. More people popping in. Very cool. Remember, if you have a question along the way, just put a little Q in front of it so I can see it in the chat. This innocent pink is moving a little bit. I'm getting it to move, but not as much as I'd like it to move, right? So I do want a little bit of that color. I've got this nice and wet and juicy. I'm just going to put, oh, look at that. Look. Gotta love live TV, right? My mat, I gotta re-glue that. It just kind of fell out. That's just so funny. Let's just ease back in with Lisa dropping the whole entire mat of, of Gina K ink onto her craft mat. Yeah, right? Let's do it. Okay, so super fun. All right, I just put a little bit, I smooshed a little bit of that color down, and I'm just kind of letting it do its thing into the watery areas here. And I just want to get that a look, just a little bit of that blushy pink. We're having a fun day today, aren't we? And I just realized, like, I literally did not bring my heat tool over here. I got no clue where that heat tool is. Now that I'm looking around, didn't bring it over in case I wanted to let this dry, you know, or I wanted to expedite getting it dry. So we're going to let that dry for a minute. I like that little bit of a blush color I've got going there. I think I might want a little bit of something else up there, but we're going to use our watercolor pencils to do that. But first I want to let this dry. So I really did that wet into wet technique, and this is kind of a little bit soppy wet. So while that is wet, I'm going to move on and do some of my flowers. Oh, I haven't quite gotten over what I just did. So, okay, I'm going to take this flower. I'm going to stamp it. We're going to do a little bit of like watercoloring with it. I think I'm going to stamp it twice. Gail just said, glad to hear that the professionals lose things. Yeah, I'm a professional. You know what? This is popped me back on the screen, Worthy. Gail, I am a professional at losing everything. Okay? Because I have a little bit of what's called squirrel brain sometimes. So you'll be in the middle of something and you put it down, and because your brain told you to go do something else, and you got like 1,000 tabs open at the same time, and you've squirreled around, and then you've kind of hidden the thing that you were looking for in plain sight. So totally me. But and that heat tool is somewhere. It's somewhere close by. And it's funny because I reminded myself before we went live, like, don't forget the heat tool. Don't forget the heat tool. And I forgot the heat tool. Okay, so we're going to ink this up. And I'm going to stamp, I think I'm going to do this twice. We're just going to go ahead and stamp the innocent pink down twice. And I've done this technique a couple other times on the channel. We're going to do it again. I'm going to do the same thing that I just did. What I love about innocent pink is, look at that, how quickly just adding a little blush of water to it really just does kind of activate that color and gets it going. Cheryl says, oh, that's totally me also. I think it's a lot of us. I think we have a lot of us have like a lot of different things on our plates, or we have a lot of different things to remember. So our brain's always kind of squirreling around saying what's important. And I'm going to take a little bit of the wild dandelion here and smoosh that down. And I'm going to take a little tiny bit of that and just kind of drop that in to a couple of the wet spots. Yeah. Just kind of let that go around. So I've just got like a little washy. You can see I'm just kind of dancing around and using the color that was in here. Let's go ahead and move that before I end up getting that all over everything. Sue just asked, is this bubblegum? No, this was innocent pink. So Innocent Pink. And I chose Innocent Pink because that's the card base that we were using. This color right here that I'm using is Passionate Pink. I have bubblegum. It's funny because I hardly ever pull bubblegum, but it's such a pretty color. All right, I'm going to let these two kind of dry. And I'm going to come back to this right here because this is kind of dried down a little bit from my goofiness. And now what I want to do is in the Beauty and Everything stamp set, I've got this polka piece. Now this polka dot piece fits perfectly inside this craft wrap paper, but it also can be used as just a background stamp if you want to do that. Everybody's saying like, me too, hidden in plain sight. Catherine just said that doesn't look like Innocent Pink. I know. And here's why. Because we used it as a watercolor medium. So remember, I had it on the mat here and I really did water it down quite a bit in order to really knock that color back a little bit more. So Innocent Pink is, you know, this is what Innocent Pink looks like. So, all right, I'm turning this sideways. And then I'm going to go ahead and stamp this down and get a little bit of that yellow happening inside of our piece of craft wrap. Piece of craft wrap. Gotta really watch how you say that, right? Okay. Now, this is kind of dry. Look, I got schmutz on it already. This is kind of dry. I want to experiment a little bit with our colored pencils. And in this stamp, we've got these little scallops happening. And I want to come in and just add, I've got a very, very light touch. So let's talk about colored pencils for a moment here. I'm super heavy-handed and I'm left-handed. So I tend to hold my pencil out a little further instead of choking up on it so that I can get more of a lighter touch with my pencil. So see how I'm coming in pretty light with it. I can always go back over it and layer and layer and layer. But if I start in right here, because I'm super heavy-handed, my tendency would be to kind of come in pretty heavy, and that can scratch the fiber of your paper. And it can also make it a whole lot harder for you to blend it out. So if you find that you're heavy-handed, whether you're left-handed or right-handed, and you want to lighten up your load a little bit, just back your hand off and just use the edge. You're just kind of using the edge instead of the tip to get that color, applied. So I'm going to come in, and it is kind of tight in here, so I'm kind of like midway. And I'm just going to apply a little bit of the color to the scallops. You know, I really have no idea how this is going to work out. I'm going direct to paper with this one. So here's my difference. Direct to paper is I'm applying that color right directly to the paper, right? Just as it sounds. Or, let's see how this looks. I got a feeling I'm not going to like it, but let's see. I feel like it might be a little bit too faint, and it kind of is. I just wanted to draw some attention to these scallops. These scallops right here and these right here are going to end up not showing up very well. So direct to paper, I can keep layering and layering and layering. So you can see the more I layer, the more of a deeper color I can get. But again, this rose is pretty rosy. So I'm going to take this color. I did direct to paper here, and look, you can barely see it. Don't love that. I'm going to take that color, and I'm just going to pop it in here. I got a feeling I'm not going to love this at all, but all I'm trying to do is just add a little bit of attention. So you can also use your watercolor pencils, not direct to paper. So like right here, I'm just going to use this piece of paper as my palette, and I'm picking up that pigment. So see how easily that pigment broke down? I'm picking it up, and then I'm going to drop it in and use it as my paint. And that's okay. I'm not loving it. I think it might have looked a little bit different if I would have like painted this whole thing, or stamped this whole, let's move that, stamped this whole thing in obsidian, because then you get a little more contrast. But you know, like I said, I didn't try this out ahead of time. In my head, I could see it and I could walk it all out. I'm starting to like it a little bit better. Direct to paper was definitely not the way to go, but this is definitely better. So I've got that look, and I can keep applying a little bit more to it and kind of getting that look. And here's what I'm going to do. Take a little bit of that yellow, scratch that down, and I'm going to add that yellow in. Like where it's wet, I'm just going to drop in a little bit of that yellow, and that yellow is really just going to help like pull some of that yellow from the dots into the scallops. It also, I've talked about this before in the channel, I like to take yellow and drop it in over pink, and it kind of gives it a little bit more luminosity. Cheryl has a question. What is the color of the pink pencil? The pencils are, oh, sorry about that, Cheryl. They're not listed in the supply list. I'll make sure I'll go back and list them. So here are the two pencils, the Faber Castell Cadmium Yellow, and this one's called Pink Madder Lake. This Pink Madder Lake is really super close. It's a cross between Passionate Pink and Innocent Pink. So it's really kind of a little bit of a mixture there. I'm not liking what I'm seeing here, but we're going to let this ride for right now. Okay. Now, just kind of coming back real quick about the colored pencils. We talked about direct to paper, and we talked about using the colored pencils and lifting them up. I'm going to come in on top here. We're going to experiment a little bit more. This is a very small area that I'm working with. So I'm going to come up here, and again, not choking up. I've just kind of got my hand out there. That little bit of schmutz there is starting to get on my nerves a little bit. I'm going to figure out what I'm going to do with that. The top here is going to kind of show a little bit on our card. So I kind of want to add a little bit of dimension to it. You know, get a little bit of contrast between our lights and darks. So I'm going to come in and I'm just going to use my circular motion here and apply some of this color right at this top area. And I'm just kind of layering it in. And if you have watercolor pencils and you don't have colored pencils, you know, you can use your watercolor pencils like colored pencils and just don't apply water, because you really are just, you can layer them very, very nicely. You can see this layering happening. You can get that texture and dimension that you can get with colored pencils simply by layering them. Okay, I'm going to come down here. You can see I've got that lights and darks. I almost kind of want to leave it be, but I'm going to blend it out a little bit. See that texture? Really nice. A hot mess today. I'm getting like little fingerprints all over everything. Ay, ay. All right. Angie's got a question. Will the mono sand eraser take care of the spot? Yeah, it will. It totally will. And I actually know where my mono sand eraser is, so I'm going to grab it and try to get rid of that spot before we finish our live today. So I'm just taking a little bit of water and I'm just tapping it in, resisting the urge to do like these long form strokes. And I'm just tapping it in and dissolving that colored pencil. And just kind of getting that little bit of a darker layer there. Kind of digging that. Now look at what has happened here in my scallops. They've really kind of washed away because I had a lot of water in that really, really super small space. I'm going to come back in with this colored pencil and just go over it and add a little bit more to it. And see how I'm just kind of going right over it, bringing back that color. Ooh, love it. Ooh, I'm digging that. I think I'm digging it. Let's see. Let's just take a little tiny bit of water to it. Tap, 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 tap. Tap, tap, tap. Tap, 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 tap. Yeah, I think I like it. I think I also have another idea too. Let me find the sand eraser. Ah, here we go. Here's the mono sand eraser. Got that little schmoozy right there. Let's go in. Just kind of gently rub against it. Now, I feel like the mono sand eraser works really, really well with watercolor paper because we've got the fibers here. So I'm literally just kind of gently doing a circular motion to kind of get that schmutz out. I'm not so worried about this schmutz here because we're going to end up doing a little bit of blue down here at the bottom. So, kind of liking it. Let's let it ride. Okay. Now, I want to come back to these pieces. I want to come back to my flowers. And I'm going to hand cut them out. But I want to show you, in the die set, there are 2 dies. There are 2 dies that work with these 2 stamps. So here's the stamp that we stamped and we did some watercoloring. This is the shadow, so you can do a 2-step stamping option. But I have dies for both of these stamps. So what that means is you can cut the die out. You've got some options for your distance. So the shadow is really a lot tighter around the die, and because it goes on the inside. Let me scooch this around. And then the outer one will cut a little bit more of, you have a little bit more of a lip. So I just wanted to share that because there are 2 different dies in there. Now I am going to hand cut them, which goes against everything that I just showed you. I'm going to hand cut them because I want to really get up to the edge. And I actually like fussy cutting, friends. I do like fussy cutting. I think it's very therapeutic. So I'm going to come around and fussy cut these out. And when I fussy cut, I've shared this before, but when I fussy cut, I tend to move the paper versus move the scissors. So you can see I'm just using my line for the floral. I love these florals. They're super wonky. Wonky and super fun. So while I'm cutting this, how's everybody's summer going? Pop in the chat. Doing anything fun? It's been a little hot this summer. It's been a little hot here in Maryland. I know it's been a little hot all over the country. Love that. Ah, love it. Okay. Yeah. Let's go in and cut this one. So, yep, easing back into it. It's been a busy, I was on vacation with my family. And then last week, it was a big week of getting ready for the Gina K release. So, we haven't been together in a live. And I've missed everyone. Chatting and just kind of sharing. But summer has been a little bit different. You know, your schedule's a little bit different in the summer, which makes it kind of fun. All right, we're going to cut this. Ah, Gail just shared she's on vacation. Oh, on vacay from Florida to California. Wow. Cool. On vacay. Okay. Now, I'm going to come in. Here's what we're going to do. Now, the farmer's market flowers, I want to have that feeling of being able to tuck something down inside of this farmer, of the wrap. So I need to grab, let's see, I didn't bring, we'll just grab this. I've got a knife here. Cheryl just said, Seattle has had a lovely summer. We've had a few hot days for Seattle. Ah, I love Seattle. I've been out there many, many, many times. And my niece is in the Navy in Seattle, and she's actually on her way back with her boyfriend for vacation back here, and she will be coming home soon after living in Seattle for about 3 years now. So 3 or 4 years now. So, all right, I've got my knife, my craft knife. Now, this is a little extra because we're going to be taking these two flowers and kind of nesting them here. But I want to be able to take the other bits. So like I said, I did a little bit of pre-stamping because I wanted to focus on some of the watercolor. So I pre-stamped some of our other market flowers and leafery pieces. So here's our pieces. And I want to tuck them down inside. So it gives it a little bit of a different look. So I'm going to come in with my craft knife. And I'm just going to follow that line and just cut myself a strip. Just follow that line and cut here. Let me flip this and kind of cut along here. Cut that V. So I kind of, see how I kind of pop that down in there like that? I just want to be able to nest that down inside there. So see how it'll make it a little bit easier for me to maneuver into some wild and wonky spots versus me trying to trim this and tuck it behind here and maybe have it hit the foam tape. So just trying a little something different. So everybody's kind of sharing the weather. Rainy summer. Summer's been great even with the hot days. I think so too. Friends, my birthday is in July, and so I'm a summer baby, and I love the heat. I just do. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, now we're gonna start layering some things up before we do the next bit of watercolor here. So got my Connect glue. I'm gonna take this piece and just my card base piece. And just add a little bit of glue to the back. There we go. Pop this down onto my Innocent Pink. I love using that Connect glue or liquid glue because I want to make sure I got that spot. You see how I can just kind of nest that in there? And it really is just like those farmers market flowers. Ah, I love it. It also is going to, getting ahead of myself, but it's going to allow me to just like let things just kind of fly a little bit. TJ said, hi, Lisa. Just wanted to pop in and say hi. Wow, love your new set, Angela. Angie just shared. Congratulations, Angie, celebrating this summer being 60 pounds lighter and learning how to love herself. That's fantastic. I love hearing that. Congratulations. All right, we're going to get into it here. I'm going to put this flower right here. I might not even use this one. Let's see. We're going to pop this down on here. This set's looking pretty. This is looking pretty cool. I'm not loving what I did with the scallop, so I think I have a solution for that. I think I do. I'm going to put a little bit of this foam tape on the back here. Love that little bit of yellow. And you see that little, we've got those little dip there in the flower, kind of helping me want to angle it right into that line. I'm bringing that down a little bit and just angling that right down here. Got that little dip. Love that. Okay, now I'm just going to start to use what I've got here and my little hole that I've made to kind of just pop these pieces in. Let's start with this. So you really don't need a lot of glue. You can just toss a little tiny bit of glue on the tail. Jane just shared why she's never thought to slice or add the flower. Hey, that's why we're here, right? Check that out. Oh, before I do that, here's my solution. Wow, if I can find it on my desk here. My solution is I want to add a little bit of extra black here. I think I'm going to add a little bit of extra black on that scallop. So I'm literally just grabbing the pen that's sitting on my desk. And this is just a Pilot pen. So I'm going to turn this upside down. And I'm going to follow the line that I originally drew and just add just kind of use a black pen and go over it. And that just adds a little something extra. Ooh, that's a little wonky. That's a little wonky. Like I said, when I said at the beginning, I probably should have done this in obsidian. But look at that, just taking that little bit of black pen and adding a little bit of extra text color on top of it. Just kind of popped in my head. Let's do it. Love the idea. Everybody's saying they love the idea of slicing it to add the foliage. It's kind of cool. Look, we're just going to pop that in there. You really don't need glue. But look, it just gives you more room to throw it in there and make it wonky and let it sit out a little bit. And then I can tuck that one in there behind it. Have you guys ever noticed that a lot of my, well, first of all of my stamp sets coordinate with each other proportionally. So, you've got all the leafery and you've got all the bits to kind of create these kinds of building pieces. And that's just something I love to do, but I tend to like to create these little scenes or scenarios. Now, in the leafery here, we've got the solid version of the leafery, and then I'm taking this piece of leafery, which is the open line version of it. And in the stamp set, there's also the solid, so you can two-step stamp these two pieces if you want to. But I'm going to use the open line. I'm going to tuck this. I think I'm going to tuck that. Yeah, I'm going to tuck that right there. So what I've got here is some really nice contrast between my open line stamped images and my solid stamped images. And I've got this piece of leafery. But first, let's take this piece. And again, I'm doing this again with the open line versus the solid. So this is open line. I'm going to tuck this down under here. See how I can get that down kind of far? I'm trying to decide if I like that. Tuck this here, or do I want to tuck that over there? I really do want that to kind of be tucked in there as another flower form. Let that kind of sit out a little bit. Yeah, leaving it. Like it. Okay. But see how it's kind of flicked out a little bit? And I didn't use any foam, tape, or anything to kind of keep that up. Now, I think I want to tuck this in here. I want to leave that little tiny bit at the top so that I can see it. I'm going to take a little bit of this glue. Took a little bit of glue. Figure out where I want to tuck this in. I think I want to tuck it in. Oh boy, right there. No, I don't want to tuck it in right there. I think I'm going to bring it up here and just go wild. Whoosh, like this whole farmer's market thing is flowers just going whoosh right out the top. Love. All right, I'm digging this. I'm digging the way this looks. I'm not going to add this second flower. I could trim it in half and kind of add that. I'm not going to do that. What I am going to do right now is kind of come in. I want to do a little bit of color to create my base here. And I want to do it in blue. And guess what? I didn't even bring any kind of blue over with me. So let's just grab what's on my desk here. I've got a little bit of blue in watercolor. So this is, let's take a little bit of this watercolor and just kind of activate this. This right here, I think, is phthalo blue. You guys have seen this palette before. I've dug it out many times. Okay. Let's close this up before I get a bunch of big honking blue all over the place. Heidi just shared, I've not made one single card in 7 or 8 months. I keep buying the releases and the kits. They're mostly still in boxes. I totally get it, Heidi. Hopefully, you know, some of these tutorials and some of these, some of this content on this channel can kind of like help you, inspire you. But if you're feeling like you're in a rut where you just don't know like what to make next, just get one thing out and just stamp an image down and just play with it. So resist the urge to try to make something with it, right? Because often what happens when we get into like creative ruts like that is that we are more singularly focused on what our end product is going to be, and we can't get started. So hopefully that will be helpful. So I'm adding a little bit of water around the bottom of the cone. I'm just going to drop in some of this. This phthalo blue is intense, so you know, just kind of drop it in, let it do its thing. It touched that cone a little bit, so that bottom is going to get a little purpley because it's cohabitated a little bit with the innocent pink. I'm going to come down a little further here, just going rogue here and just adding a little bit. So yeah, there's some suggestions. TJ just shared a nice little suggestion. So if you've ever had, like, believe me, friends, I do this for a living, so I don't often get to like make things for funsies, right? So I totally get it. Like, you get overwhelmed with all the things that you have, and the ideas don't flow so freely. So, you know, this is why I have like kind of shifted the way we're doing the tutorials into focusing on like more of our technique, and the card making process is the card making process. So I see people sharing. I'm more craft active in the winter than the summer. I think a lot of people are, because you know you're inside, and you know it's a little bit more cold outside, so we tend to be a little more crafty or working on our craft projects. And at that time, I'm really digging the way this looks. Kind of did not come out at all the way I wanted, but this part, especially experimenting with the watercolor pencils, but I'm liking that feeling of it being those farmers market flowers, you know, tucked over and kind of tucked in there. Now I'm going to take the little Bloom and Grow. Now this stamp and the coordinating die, this tiny little clip stamp is so much fun. Like, when I had this idea to do this, it really was like you could clip it on to the corner of where the wrap happens, and I just had that little Bloom and Grow that just kind of pops in right over top. So I'm gonna let's take and figure out where we're gonna nest this little Bloom and Grow. I think maybe here. It could even go over here if I wanted it to. Nope, don't love that. I'm going to nest it right there. I don't want to cover up all of the black that I did, but look at that little bit of black detail in the scallops and how it contrasts really nicely with the Bloom and Grow little clip. And I just drug that right across that bottom, that wet bottom. Holy smokes, friends. It's been a week. It's Thursday. And yes, normally I go live on Friday, but tomorrow I have another commitment, so I definitely wanted to make sure that I made it today, this week, and did another live for you. Wendy said, she just shared, I love the clipper. I love it too. Ooh, look at that. I've got that wet glue on there, so it's giving me some time to be able to move it. I'm loving this. All right, it needs a little something else. We're going to add some sequins. I've got my picker, my pokey picker. Um, so let's go ahead and add some sequins. Everybody's just sharing that they're enjoying the card. That's so cool. Let's do some blops. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just randomly putting a bunch of blops down. Catherine just said great advice. Good. Yeah. So, I feel you guys when you're sharing like some of the maybe the stress, or I don't even know if it's stress, but we really here we really get, like, I get a ton of ideas and I'm inspired by a ton of things, and different kinds of projects, and I might, what, I didn't put that down right. I might like buy a lot of different art supplies and products and projects, and then I get them here and I don't always open them right away. So I totally feel what you're saying, and like how to get inspired. Um, I am loving this. Look at this, like, I feel like we need one right there. See that little bloop of blue that I got going there? Let's add that. This card's got a real softness to it, which is kind of interesting and makes me want to do. These are a little bit too symmetrical. Let's kind of pop that down a little bit. I don't care. We're gonna leave it. I kind of want. It's kind of super soft. I'm loving the way it looks, but it's a little bit too soft right there in that bottom. I want to anchor it a little bit. This could be a mistake. So let's see. Let's see what happens. I'm adding a little bit of that blue, and I'm just going to, with my clean brush, I'm just going to tap, tap, tap it out and just kind of let the water do its thing. Bring it across. And all of this was because I felt like I wanted to add a little bit of contrast between my lights and darks. And look, it just went, whoop, it just went around the, just went around the sequin. Normally you would just do all this and then put your sequins on top. Let's blend this line. See how hard that line is? I'm just going to blend that out a little bit. And I like that. That lights and darks. It also just kind of grounds it a little bit. And I got a little bit of that blue kind of coming over into this. A little more than I would like it to be, but that's okay. We're going to let it ride. All right, I'm digging it. I'm digging the way this card looks. It came together pretty quickly. I'm loving it. I can't wait to see what everybody creates. I'm kind of really digging the way this looks. I really didn't think I was going to recover from the scallops being in that black, but I'm really liking the way it looks now. We've got that nice contrast between our silhouette images and our line art images, and just that popping that little tiny bit of passionate pink and wild dandelion, just randomly ink washed onto that, just really makes for a really fun card. And you're right, Catherine. The bling just kind of brings it to life. I often forget, like, on all of my cards for the release, it's hilarious. Like, I often forget to put the bling on. Like, I'll finish the card, and I went back and looked at all of those release cards, and I literally put no bling on it. But look at that. It really does give it a little something extra. Kind of digging it. All right, so this card came out a little bit different than I thought it was going to come out. And because I didn't pre-plan anything. We're just kind of getting back into the groove of things and seeing where things go. So we actually finished within the hour because super simple card. It's been 2 weeks. Thought it'd be really fun. Big release week. Just kind of jump back into things. A little bit of light and easy breezy. So, okay, friends. Thanks so much for joining me today. Super fun, easy going tutorial. Kind of mashed up a little bit of watercolor pencils and inks, and just did some really washy watercolor techniques. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. You can always post something in the chat, or many of you email me or DM me. All works. It all works. Super, super fun. Okay, I will be back next week with a new tutorial. And if you're on my email list, I would encourage you to get on my email list. The links and all of that information is down below in the description. I do send out an email once a week, and it lets everybody know when I'm going to go live. It lets everybody know like all the cool stuff that's happening and what's going on, and also all the freebies. I also have a free community in my classroom at craftyourjoy.com. I would love it if you joined. I've got a lot of content over there. I also post the lives over there, different freebies that I don't share elsewhere. I'm never really sure how much you're going to actually see of my posts out in social media. And so I created my own community, and I've got lots of things in there. So I see everybody saying and sharing thank you. Again, so grateful that you could all join me today. And as we dive back in with this just like kind of super easygoing summer tutorial for our fresh market flowers. Beauty and Everything is live now with Gina K Designs. It's available now. And yeah, I cannot wait to see what you all create with it, because I've been hearing from you. So I can't wait to see what you create. But I will be back next week, and I am going to mash this stamp set up with showers of blessings. And I'm going to have something new, a new watercolor technique that I'm going to be sharing with you. And I'm not really sure what that's going to be yet, but we'll see. Okay. I see everybody saying thank you. Thanks, friends. I hope you found a lot of value in today's tutorial, and I will see you next week. Thanks so much. Bye, friends.